Such futile
Hey, what is going on, everybody, and
Oh,
welcome
before your
to
inescapable fate.
Fantasia. For
Such
today,
futile
we're gonna be
resistance.
jumping into another session of
Oh, before your
Epic 7 out
inescapable fate.
today.
How
Got some more
they
first
will
impressions for you guys.
I'll make it
So,
painless.
jumping into this one here, we're looking at Hecate, and boy oh boy does she have, I think, one of my favorite themes out of anything in this game so far, right? She is essentially a Grim Reaper, and she actually carries around this thing called the Tome of Life's End, and it's essentially a book with names inscribed in there, and let's call it their expiration dates, shall we? Her design is immaculate. It's actually really nice, and honestly, like, out of all the fictional like weapons that characters like to carry, scythes are probably my favorite, so I may be a little bit biased here. But anyway, let's go ahead and start with the introduction to Hecate here. She is going to be an Earth warrior of the Capricorn star sign, and she actually does bolster pretty decent health and defense, right? This star sign is known for, well, not having any crit rate or crit damage or even speed. You're just a really bulky stat stick there. And you do have two decent imprints though. The one is her team imprint for HP, which is the best team imprint that you can get. It makes your team really bulky. And the second imprint that she has is her imprint concentration for herself, which gives her attack percent. She is going to need attack, and she isn't gonna need to be built like a super bruiser, like as in like you don't need a ton of HP, but you definitely do want her relatively bulky though. Let's go ahead and compare her to some other units that you might already know. Starting off with the most recent release of a Capricorn warrior, Stark, right? So Stark here has, you know, you build him with crit rate and crit damage, so it's not really comparable, but just so you know, you can get some relatively decent bulk. Keep in mind that most of these units are going to be relatively slow, right? Shu is another very popular unit that was in the meta several, maybe couple years back, I'd say. And yeah, so Stark and Shu are typically built with stuff like counter, penetration, HP sets, and stuff like that. But Hecate is going to differ in that, I believe. Another very popular Capricorn is going to be Mediator Cowric, actually. So there you go. He is one that actually doesn't need to be built with crit rate, so you can see like what stats you can be gunning for. All these stats into HP you can actually funnel into attack, which should be pretty decent. Getting her attack increased will help her with her damage output, because she is going to be a damage dealer, not a support unit like Mediator Cowric, although Mediator does output some decent damage himself. Ken is a unit that if you play a lot of PvE, you probably have him built, and he is also a wonderful unit as well, right? Ken is actually a unit that you can build more attack and like less HP on, so you can see Ken's around like 2,000 something attack and like 18k health, and it actually does work quite nicely, but we'll see what stats Hecate actually wants once she gets released, and we can like test some damage numbers and all that good stuff, right? But anyway, going back to her here, I think she's going to be relatively easy to build because she doesn't need any crit. So let's take a look at her skills. Her skill 2 is called Death's Dominion. Enemy heroes cannot revive and cannot be granted immortality. When attacking, penetrates the target's defense by up to 100% and cannot trigger a critical hit or a heavy blow. Her skill 3 is Inescapable Demise. After granting increased attack to the caster for 3 turns, attacks the enemy by releasing the force of the Netherworld. When the target is a hero, ignores damage share. Begins the first battle with a full skill cooldown count. So yeah, these are quite insane skills, right? When 10 soul is consumed, by the way, you can soul burn this skill. It grants an increased attack greater for 3 turns, as you can currently see in this demo video right here, and you're dealing quite a bit of damage. It's almost 30k to the boss Arunca there, which is kind of crazy, right? Okay, and her skill 1, Reaper's Scythe, attacks the enemy with Sigurd's Scythe before increasing combat readiness of the caster by 20%. When used on the caster's turn, activates Final Deliverance as an extra attack. And Final Deliverance attacks all enemies before granting stealth to the caster for 1 turn and decreasing skill cooldowns by 2 turns. So she is definitely going to be a unit that wants to turn cycle, and she is definitely going to benefit from the new set that has come out that allows her to start the battle with no cooldowns, right? So she also will start the battle with a lot more HP too. So that new set that's going to be coming out is looking pretty good for her. So let's kind of go back here and break things down a little bit now that we've seen the skills. Skill 2 is countering essentially 2/3 of the meta. Revivers and Immortality. Spirit Eye Celine, Apocalypse Ravi, Ruel of Light, Maid Chloe, right? Even School Nurse Yoha, which recently was released. All of these units are getting countered here by not being able to revive. This is not even mentioning Immortality in the form of Amiki, Genoa, BBK, Lady of the Scales, right? Giving that Immortality to the frontline unit, which is super obnoxious and annoying. She counters all of that, and that's absolutely crazy. The other part is that her skill 2 just allows you to penetrate defense by 100% when you skill enhance it. This is just whenever you're attacking. It's wild. You're going to be dealing a lot of damage, but this also kind of leads me to believe that without this penetration, she actually won't be dealing much damage at all. So Empyrean Ilanov and stuff like that can easily counter the amount of damage output that she puts out. I think the damage numbers we see are all because she's penetrating defense by 100%. So when you're facing her, you got to be very careful. Either have defense penetration resistance in the form of Ilanov or DN or something or the other, maybe through the RTA warfare rules, right? Otherwise, I think you're just going to be eating a lot of damage, or you better be bringing like the bulkiest of units to make sure you don't die. Then the part here that's interesting is you can't trigger a critical hit or a heavy blow. She's never going to crit, which is great. You don't have to build crit on her. The heavy blow part is something that a lot of people are confused on. Heavy blow has been a mechanic that's in the game. So yeah, it's been something that's there. It's when you attack with a non-crit and you see like small white numbers, but then like big white numbers. The large numbers are like a heavy blow. You you attack with a little bit more damage than you normally would. It's like high rolling damage essentially, right? So they're just saying that she cannot trigger a crit or a heavy blow. Perfectly fine. But this part here, where as long as she's there, keep in mind this is only enemy heroes. Your heroes can still revive and have immortality. Okay, now looking at the skill 3 again, the main thing here is that she is very self-sufficient as a damage dealer. She can increase the attack of herself here for 3 turns, which is incredibly good. You can even get a greater attack buff, because why not when you have 100% defense penetration? And the other thing is, she ignores damage share with the skill 3. Straight up ignores it. So another hero that everyone has been kind of waiting for to counter Lady of the Scales. Nobody likes this damage sharing shenanigans that Lady of the Scales has brought upon us in this meta. The last RTA season was not very enjoyable for a lot of people to play, and you know, every single defense team on Guild War and Arena has essentially stagnated into Lady of the Scales, right? Plus Immortality, which is just incredibly obnoxious. So this will counter that, and keep in mind you have 100% defense penetration, so you're probably going to just one-shot whoever's in the front line here, and Lady of the Scales is Immortality can't proc, you don't get any damage share, right, all that good stuff. There's one thing to keep in mind here is that unless you run in the new set, you do have to really work to get this cooldown reduced. It is on a normal 6-turn cooldown, so you're using your skill 1, it reduces cooldown by 2 turns, so every 2 to 3 turns, I think you can use your skill 3, which is not bad, but you definitely consider starting out with the skill 3 available, because that's essentially a delete button against your opponent if they don't have like defense penetration resistance, which is honestly kind of nasty. Alright, and last but not least, the skill 1. It's crazy that they gave her an extra attack in here too, but that does mean that maybe you can use something like a Lionheart Sirmia. Keep in mind she does penetrate defense, and Lionheart usually runs more defense and less HP. So run like Empyrean Ilanov with Lionheart Sirmia, that might help a little bit. She does get into stealth, so don't know how much Lionheart's S3 is really going to help against that, since she halves the damage there. This will help keep her alive for quite a while, which is really annoying too. So she's very self-sufficient. She protects herself with stealth. She gives her attack buff. She penetrates defense, so she's really good offensively. She turn cycles herself with combat readiness, and she decreases her own skill cooldowns super quick. Not just by 1 turn every time she attacks. No, by 2 turns. Yeah, this unit's gonna go hard. Definitely pick her up. She is gonna be insane. That's really all I can say. Okay guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the artifact here, the Tome of Life's End. It is a warrior exclusive artifact where when you're attacking, if a non-critical hit is made, you increase damage dealt by 10 to 20%. At plus 15 here, you'll only get a 15% damage increase, but you will also deal additional damage proportional to the caster's attack to the target. This is really good on Hecate. The reason why is because she actually has an extra attack which makes the second hit an AoE, so you're delivering this hit to everybody, right? This extra damage. Not only that, but you're just hitting that much harder too. So it's not only just the Portrait of the Saviors, which is like a 20% damage boost. You're also essentially getting what is it called? Ubirus' Tooth, right? Built into this as well, which is crazy good. Okay, honestly, this is probably gonna replace like Ubirus' Tooth for some characters out there. Like think about Amiki, for example. But why are you using Amiki when Immortality is dead now because of Hecate here? Yeah, this is nuts. I would definitely pick up artifacts here from the powder shop. If you summon them, great. Don't merge them because I'm pretty sure you're going to be using this on more than just Hecate, right? Again, like I mentioned, Amiki is a good example, and there's plenty of others out there as well. Think about like ML Peyra too, right? She also will deal extra damage, and if you're building her with attack to deal extra damage anyway, it's just a straight upgrade to Ubirus' Tooth in my opinion. So Hecate is going to be joining us as a limited unit, so do be sure to save up some bookmarks for her. She is going to be available on December 18th. Okay guys, let's go ahead and move on into the next phase here where we talk about some alternative artifacts that you can run on Hecate. The first thing that comes to mind is every other warrior exclusive artifact because they're all so good. Sweet Miracle, shout out to this one for increasing your HP by just a bit more, right? But this essentially allows your Hecate to never be able to get controlled, at least by like first turn stuns and sleeps and that kind of stuff, which is actually honestly kind of nice. Shout outs to, if you don't pull her own artifact, I guess if you want the extra fixed damage, Ubirus' Tooth, but her own artifact power creeps this, so that's very unfortunate here. Another great one is just going to be plain old Sigurd's Scythe, because you increase your attack, which is going to help your damage output, and it gives her some self-sustain in terms of healing too, right? So that's the key thing with Sigurd, is that you get to heal back. I'd say Sigurd is better than Golden Rose on her just because she does scale with attack, so it's not bad to have it in the first place. But yeah, definitely if you can just run her on her own artifact. It is really nice, and it synergizes super well with her kit. But there are going to be techs that you can definitely run as well. For example, Thorn of the Blue Rose, where at the start of the battle you gain 10 souls. When you attack, you increase your damage dealt, and when you're using a soul burn, you increase damage dealt as by additional 15%. The soul burn for the damage is going to be kind of nice because again you get the greater attack buff as well when you attack with her, which is incredible. But the 10 souls at the start of the match could be useful not only for her but for other characters too. So again, a utility pick here, not something that's like super best in slot or anything like that. Prayer of Solitude also gets a shout out here for increasing your HP instead of increasing your damage, so for more survivability. When you attack, you do increase your damage dealt, and when you do an extra attack like she does with her skill 1, you can increase your damage dealt even further. But this is mostly if you want to really bulk down with her and make sure that she cannot be killed, right? Other cool things are Spear Purification if you want some combat readiness increases from your opponent. Not really sure why you want her to cut, and she's not really fast enough to cut, but hey, I've fought enough Japanese server players to know that anything is possible if you fight the right crazy person who decide to invest all their gear into one character, right? But yeah, let me know in the comments down below what other artifacts you think will be good on her. I think hers is the best in slot for herself, but again, Sigurd's Scythe really strong second place, I'd say, for that self-sustain that she's lacking. So let's go ahead and take a look at some potential sets that you can run on Hecate. I'm going to be using Ken as an example here just because Capricorn is the same star sign as her, and I've equipped him with Eubiris' Tooth because it is very comparable to her own artifact. So let's go ahead and jump to the manage equipment here and talk about optimal sets. Her optimal set is probably actually not on this list because it is going to be one that is going to be newly added called the Warfare set, which increases your HP at the start of battle and resets cooldowns as well. So she's going to start her battle with more bulk, and she is actually going to have her S3 ready to go from the start, which is actually kind of crazy. Now, if you don't want to run that, well, actually, sorry. Before I get to that, there's another set called the Pursuit set. It's a 2-piece set, and it will actually increase additional damage that is dealt. So if you want her to just be like an AoE chip damage machine, like with her skill 1 into an extra attack, you could probably do that. I mean, there's people who do that with like ML Payra right now, so you can probably build her with a ton of attack and use like Pursuit sets plus her own artifact, right? And really deal some good damage against your opponents. We'll see what the fixed damage and stuff is gonna be like, how much the set gives, and also how much her fixed damage is proportional to her attack. It's gonna be quite important to note before we decide to commit to those sets. Now, when it comes to sets that we do have, look no further than speed sets, because why not? Speed set is really good for her turn cycling. You definitely want her to get more skill 1s off so she can reduce her cooldowns of her S3. And one thing to note is that you don't really want to run counter, because counter doesn't actually help her all that much. In order to get the skill cooldowns and all that stuff, you do want to have your extra attack, which can only be procced on her turn, and I'm sure that they actually kept that in mind, so she can't just counter a couple times and then boom, skill 3 again. So yeah, counter set's a no-go here, but speed set is pretty decent. You're probably going to be running immunity on her. She is relatively slow after all, and the other thing about her is that her passive carries a lot of weight. The ability to stop immortality, stop revives, and provide her 100% defense penetration is kind of nuts, and you definitely want to protect that passive from getting sealed from an Archdemon, sealed from New Moon Lunas, and stuff like that. Not saying you need to run resistance on her, but hey, immunity gives you another layer of 15% RNG that you can add onto her. Right, and it just helps protect her overall, which is not bad. Other than these two, I don't see people running much else. I'd say HP set is okay if you want some more bulk, but again, immunity, probably the way to go. And I don't really see anything else, honestly. She does like no debuffs and anything else, so you don't want to hit set. You could argue for like a torrent set, but that would lower your bulk. But hey, it is something that is plausible. I've had people build bulkier units than me on torrent set when I'm not running it. So this is definitely, if you have really good rolls on it, torrent set can help too. But yeah, mostly I'd say like if you're not running the warfare set that's going to be coming out, speed set's okay, HP, immunity, torrent, and the new pursuit set are probably going to be your best 2-piece options. So again, I'm not sure what type of stat line she's actually going to be looking for, because I think she's quite unique in the gear that you want to put on her. But I went ahead and just put together a sample build here of a potential Hecate on speed set and immunity set. And as you can see, we're rocking a decent chunk of health here, 19,000 HP. I think in the demonstration she had like 18k health. I don't know how much attack she's running in the demonstration, but we're running about 3,700 attack here with 1,400 defense. I think that's relatively okay for 230 something speed. And just so you can see the gear on this, we can definitely improve like the this crit damage. You can modify that out, but everything else I pretty much just went for bulk, speed, and some attack. All pretty decent pieces, fairly achievable stat lines, I'd say, right? 19 speed here on the necklace, nothing too crazy, especially if you spread out that speed stat amongst other things like this ring, for example. None of these are great pieces, but just goes to show that you can actually make her look pretty decent, right? Even with mediocre pieces, just because she doesn't need crit rate or crit damage. She's not a very stat hungry unit, which I think will make her a lot easier for people to build. Now, when it comes to team compositions and bringing in units that synergize well with her, I think she is going to work well in a variety of different teams. She's going to be a great anchor if you play aggressively or play cleave, just in case your opponent's running immortality units or revive units against you, right? She's a good tech, and she's also pretty resilient with her bulk, so you can just kind of add her on as an anchor at the end of your draft, which is pretty solid. But she also can just work well in any slower tank down type of build and type of team. Things to watch out for mostly are going to be Empyrean Ilanov here. Just make sure that you don't face against things that have defense penetration resistance, because that stuff is going to be really nasty for her to try to beat. I know she does do fixed damage a little bit, which is nice with her artifact, but again, not something to rely on, especially with how bulky Empyrean Ilanovs can be. So do keep that in mind. Teams with DN as well, also keep that in mind. One thing to note is that even though the Maid Chloe reduces the fixed damage that Hecate can do against the team, Maid is obviously a revive unit, and so Hecate kind of counters her. So the one unit that you need to watch out for in terms of reducing your fixed damage is definitely going to be Fallen Cecilia, right? Fallen Cecilia with the barriers, reducing the damage and stuff can be a bit of an issue, especially because some people can build Fallen Cecilias really bulky to the point where you can't really one-shot her, even with an S3, even with a greater attack buff, even with full defense penetration. So do keep that in mind as well. She is vulnerable to debuffs and control and such, so you definitely do want to bring in some cleansers and things like that. Maybe Infinite Horizon Acadias if you want to turn cycle, right, to use your skill 1 a couple times to get that S3 back off cooldown for the cleansing and shenanigans. Anyone that gives CR pushing is really nice, right, in that regard as well. But keep in mind, you can still use her with revivers, you can still use her with immortality units, because apparently locking people out of game states is only going to be one-sided now. We've gone are the days of Briarwitch Iceria, right, locking both units out of revives. Now you can just stop your opponent from doing so while doing it yourself. And with that being said though, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Take care.